Captain Marcus Chen floated through the airlock and felt his stomach drop. The Zephyrian flagship stretched before him like a living crystal cathedral. The walls pulsed with soft blue light that moved in waves across surfaces smoother than glass. Everything around him seemed to breathe with energy that made his human eyes water. "Stay close to me," said Ambassador Williams, the older man's voice tight with nervousness. "And remember what we discussed. No sudden movements. No touching anything. These beings have ruled the galaxy since before our ancestors discovered fire." Marcus nodded and followed the ambassador deeper into the ship. Their boots made no sound on the crystal floor. The air tasted strange, like metal and lightning, but their breathing masks filtered it into something his lungs could handle. Other diplomats from Earth walked behind them in a small group. All of them looked as nervous as Marcus felt. This was humanity's first real chance at peace with the Zephyrian Empire. For 3 years, there had been small fights along the border between human space and Zephyrian territory. Nothing big enough to call a war, but enough to make both sides angry. The hallway opened into a vast chamber that took Marcus's breath away. The ceiling rose so high he could barely see it. Pillars of living crystal supported the space, each one flowing with different colors of light, and floating in the center of it all were the Zephyrians. Marcus had seen pictures and videos, but nothing prepared him for meeting them in person. They were tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of clear crystal filled with moving light. Their faces were beautiful but alien, with large eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. When they moved, energy flowed through their bodies like water through glass tubes. "The human delegation has arrived," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Marcus realized the Zephyrians spoke by vibrating the crystal around them, rather than using vocal cords like humans. One of the floating beings moved toward them. This one was smaller than the others but carried herself with clear authority. Her crystal skin held more colors than the rest, swirling patterns of gold and silver mixed with the usual blue and white. When she looked at Marcus, he felt like she was seeing straight through him. "I am Princess Lirelei, heir to the crystal throne and speaker for the Zephyrian Empire in these talks," she said. Her voice held a musical quality that made Marcus think of wind chimes. "You are the representatives of the species that calls itself human." "Okay." Ambassador Williams stepped forward and bowed. "Your Highness, we are honored by your presence. I am Ambassador Williams, and this is my security chief, Captain Marcus Chen, along with our diplomatic team." Princess Lirelei's glowing eyes studied each human in turn. When her gaze fell on Marcus, he felt a strange tingling sensation, like static electricity running over his skin. "You are young species," she said finally. "Your entire civilization could fit into a single cycle of our empire's growth. Yet you demand to be treated as equals at the galactic table. Explain to me why we should grant this request." The princess floated in a slow circle around the human group. Other Zephyrians watched from higher levels of the chamber, their forms glittering like living jewels. Marcus could feel their attention on him and his fellow humans. It felt like being studied by beings who saw them as interesting insects. Ambassador Williams launched into his prepared speech about human achievements, trade benefits, and shared goals. Marcus tried to pay attention, but found himself watching Princess Lirelei instead. She moved with a grace that seemed impossible, never quite touching any surface but somehow always in perfect balance with the space around her. "Your species burns through resources like fire through dry grass," said another Zephyrian voice. This one belonged to a larger figure with darker crystal skin. "You reproduce without thought for consequences. Your wars devastate entire planets. Why should we waste time on beings who will destroy themselves within a few thousand years?" "Lord Kithros speaks harsh truths," Princess Lirelei said, though her tone remained neutral. "Your species shows great energy but little wisdom. You have barely left your birth system, yet you make claims about your place in the galaxy." Marcus watched Ambassador Williams struggle to respond. The man was good at his job, but these beings made him look like a child, trying to argue with professors. Everything they said was true. Humans were young, reckless, and resource-hungry compared to these ancient crystalline beings. "We may be young," Marcus found himself saying before he could stop himself. "But sometimes young species see things that old ones miss." The chamber fell silent. Every Zephyrian eye turned toward him. Ambassador Williams looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Marcus felt his heart racing but forced himself to continue. "You've ruled the galaxy for millions of years," he said. "That's amazing. But in all that time, how much have you really changed? How much have you grown? Maybe being young and reckless isn't always a bad thing. Maybe it means we can find new answers to old problems." Princess Lirelei floated closer to him. Her crystal skin pulsed with brighter light, and Marcus could feel energy radiating from her like heat from a fire. "You would lecture us on wisdom, young human?" she asked. Her voice carried dangerous harmonics that made the crystal walls ring softly. "No," Marcus said quickly. "I would suggest that wisdom and youth might work better together than apart." For a long moment, the princess stared at him with those alien eyes. Then something that might have been a smile crossed her crystal features. "Interesting," she said. "Perhaps these talks will be more engaging than I expected. Very well, humans. You have 3 days aboard this ship to convince us that your species deserves equal standing in galactic affairs. Use the time wisely." The audience chamber began to empty as the Zephyrians flowed away like liquid light. Princess Lirelei was the last to leave. Pausing to look back at Marcus one final time, "Captain Chen," she said, "I will be interested to see if your species can back up your bold words with equally bold actions." Then she was gone, leaving the human delegation alone in the vast crystal space. Ambassador Williams turned to Marcus with a look of mixed anger and admiration. "Well," he said, "that was either very brave or very stupid. I suppose we'll find out which over the next 3 days." The first day of talks went better than anyone expected. Marcus sat in the corner of the meeting room, watching Ambassador Williams discuss trade routes with Princess Lirelei and her advisors. The humans had brought samples of their art, music, and technology. The Zephyrians seemed genuinely curious about human creativity, even if they still considered humans primitive. "Your music creates chaotic but pleasing vibrations," Princess Lirelei said, as she examined a human violin. Her crystal fingers moved over the strings, creating sounds that were beautiful but completely alien. "There is no mathematical perfection to it, yet it moves something within our energy patterns." Marcus found himself watching the princess more than the talks themselves. She was different from the other Zephyrians. Where they seemed cold and distant, she showed real interest in understanding humans. When she spoke, her crystal skin would shift to different colors, as if her emotions were changing the light inside her. "Captain Chen," she said during a break in the discussions, "you have been quiet today. Do you have thoughts about our conversations?" "I'm just security," Marcus said. "Yet yesterday you spoke of finding new answers to old problems. I am curious about your perspective." Before Marcus could answer, a low alarm began to sound throughout the ship. The crystal walls flashed red, and the air filled with vibrations that made Marcus's bones ache. Princess Lirelei's form suddenly blazed with bright light. "Emergency protocols are active," she said, her voice cutting through the alarm sounds. "All beings must remain in secure locations." The meeting room's doors sealed themselves with sheets of crystal that grew from the walls. Through the transparent barriers, Marcus could see Zephyrian crew members flowing through the corridors like streams of living light. Their movements seemed urgent but organized. "What's happening?" Ambassador Williams asked. Princess Lirelei was communicating with someone through rapid flashes of light from her skin. Marcus realized the Zephyrians could talk to each other without making sound, using their internal energy like a wireless network. "Separatist forces have infiltrated the ship," she said finally. "A faction of our people who oppose any alliance with younger species. They believe contact with humans will contaminate our pure energy essence." The ship shuddered around them. Through the crystal walls, Marcus could see explosions of light in distant corridors. Energy weapons discharged in patterns too fast for human eyes to follow properly. "Can your security handle them?" Marcus asked, his hand moving instinctively toward his weapon. "Normally, yes, but these separatists have brought something new. Something we have never seen before." Princess Lirelei's skin flickered with worried colors. "They have created a weapon specifically designed to target royal bloodlines." Another explosion shook the ship, This one much closer. The lights in the meeting room dimmed for a moment before returning to full brightness. Marcus could hear sounds of battle moving closer to their location. "We need to evacuate you to a secure area," Princess Lirelei said to the human delegation. "The separatists will try to kill you to prevent these talks from continuing." She moved toward the sealed door and placed her hand against the crystal. The barrier began to dissolve. But before it could fully open, something struck her from behind. Marcus spun around and saw a Zephyrian figure materializing from what had looked like empty air. The attacker's crystal skin was dark red, almost black, and violent energy crackled around their form. In their hand was a weapon that looked like a shard of twisted crystal. "Death to the contaminated princess," the assassin said in a voice like breaking glass. "Death to the human lovers." The weapon fired, sending a beam of sickly yellow light toward Princess Lirelei. She tried to dodge, but the beam curved in the air and struck her in the chest. The moment it hit her, Marcus saw something terrible happen. The princess's beautiful crystal skin began to change. Dark veins spread from where the beam had hit her, and her internal light started to flicker and dim. She fell to the floor, her form no longer floating with its usual grace. Marcus drew his pistol and fired at the assassin. But the bullets passed right through the Zephyrian's energy form without causing damage. The assassin laughed and raised their weapon again, aiming at the princess for a finishing shot. Without thinking, Marcus threw himself between them. The beam meant for Princess Lirelei struck him instead, sending pain through his body like liquid fire. But unlike what had happened to the princess, the beam seemed to have no lasting effect on his human biology. The assassin looked confused for a moment. That hesitation was all Princess Lirelei needed. Despite her obvious pain, she released a burst of energy that sent the attacker flying backward into the crystal wall. The impact shattered the assassin's form into thousands of light fragments that faded away. "Princess." Marcus dropped to his knees beside her. Her crystal skin was now shot through with black veins, and her internal light was fading rapidly. "What can I do to help?" "What?" "Nothing," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "The weapon carries a virus designed to corrupt royal energy matrices. It feeds on our advanced biology and grows stronger with each moment." More alarms began sounding. Through the dissolved doorway, Marcus could see Zephyrian medical teams rushing toward them. But when they reached the princess and began their scans, their crystal faces showed expressions of horror. "The virus is unlike anything in our databases," one of the medics said. "It is designed specifically to target the unique energy patterns of the royal bloodline. Our standard treatments are useless." "More than useless," said another medic. "The virus feeds on our medical nanites. Each treatment attempt makes it stronger." Marcus watched in growing despair as team after team of Zephyrian doctors examined Princess Lirelei. They tried everything their advanced technology could offer, but nothing worked. If anything, her condition got worse with each attempt to help her. "How long does she have?" Marcus asked. The lead doctor's crystal skin flickered with sad colors. "At the current rate of corruption, perhaps 2 hours. Maybe 3 if we cease all treatment and allow her energy to conserve itself. And if she dies, the peace talks end immediately. The royal court will assume human involvement in the assassination. War will be inevitable." Marcus looked down at Princess Lirelei. Her eyes were still open, still aware, but her skin had grown so dim he could barely see the energy moving inside her. In trying to protect the human delegation, she had doomed both their species to a war neither could really win. "There has to be something," Marcus said. "Some treatment you haven't tried. We have exhausted all known medical procedures. This virus was designed by our own people, using our own knowledge against us. It is the perfect weapon against Zephyrian biology." The princess reached up and touched Marcus's hand with crystal fingers that felt cold as ice. "Thank you for trying to save me," she whispered. "At least I will die knowing that some humans are truly brave." Marcus paced the medical bay, while Zephyrian doctors worked frantically around Princess Lirelei. Her crystal form lay on a platform that hummed with energy, but the black veins spreading through her skin continued to grow darker with each passing minute. Her internal light had dimmed so much that she looked more like carved stone than living crystal. "There must be something else you can try," Marcus said to the lead doctor. Dr. Velthris turned toward him, the Zephyrian's crystal face showing patterns of deep sadness. "We have attempted every treatment in our medical databases. The virus was specifically engineered by our own scientists who turned against us. They knew exactly how to make it immune to our technology." "What about non-Zephyrian technology?" asked Dr. Sarah Kim, the human xenobiologist who had been part of the diplomatic mission. She stood near a scanner, studying the readouts from Princess Lirelai's condition. "Have you considered that a weapon designed to fight Zephyrian biology might be vulnerable to something completely different?" "Your human medicine is primitive compared to ours," Dr. Velthris said, though his tone was not unkind. "Your technology cannot even sustain energy-based life forms." "That's exactly my point," Dr. Kim said excitedly. She pulled up holographic displays showing the virus structure. "Look at how this thing works. It feeds on energy matrices and grows stronger when exposed to your advanced nanites. But what if we introduce something it wasn't designed to handle?" Marcus moved closer to study the hologram. The virus looked like a twisted crystal parasite, with spikes that latched onto energy pathways and drained them. "What kind of something?" "Something chaotic, something biological instead of energy-based." Dr. Kim's voice grew more excited as she worked through her theory. "The virus expects to encounter ordered, crystalline structures. What if we gave it something completely random instead?" "Human biology," Marcus said, understanding where she was going. "Exactly. Human blood is full of chaotic cellular activity. Carbon-based life forms like us don't follow the same energy patterns as Zephyrians. The virus might not know how to process that kind of biological chaos." Dr. Velthris floated closer to examine Dr. Kim's data. "This is highly theoretical. Even if the virus cannot process human cellular structure, introducing organic matter into Princess Lirelai's energy matrix could kill her instantly." "She's already dying," Marcus pointed out. "How much worse could it get?" "Much worse, Doctor," Velthris said seriously. "Energy beings and organic beings are fundamentally incompatible. The cellular chaos you speak of could disrupt her entire energy network. Instead of a slow death from the virus, she could simply cease to exist in moments." Dr. Kim was working furiously at her scanner, running simulations. "The energy differential is massive," she admitted. "But look at this." She highlighted a section of the readout. "Human blood carries bioelectric signatures. It's not pure chaos. There are patterns there, just different patterns than what Zephyrians use." "Different how?" Dr. Velthris asked. "Adaptive patterns. Human biology is designed to fight off infections, viruses, toxins. Our immune systems are built to handle things that want to kill us. Zephyrian biology is so advanced and pure that you've never needed that kind of defensive chaos." Marcus felt his heart racing as he realized what Dr. Kim was suggesting. "You want to use me as a weapon against the virus. Not exactly a weapon, more like introducing a completely foreign element that the virus can't understand or process." Dr. Kim looked at the data again. "The theory is sound, but the risks are enormous." "What risks?" Marcus asked. Dr. Velthris answered. "The energy differential between human and Zephyrian biology could kill you both instantly. Your cellular structure might be completely destroyed by contact with pure energy. Her energy matrix might be shattered by contact with organic chaos. Even if the procedure doesn't kill you immediately, we have no idea what long-term effects mixing the two biologies might cause." Princess Lirelai's voice came weakly from the medical platform. "Do not risk yourselves for me. I am already lost." Marcus walked over to her. Her crystal skin was now mostly black, with only tiny flickers of light remaining deep inside. "You protected us from that assassin. You could have let him kill the human delegation and solved your political problems. But you didn't. Berdating this. You could have let him kill the Sandaves ADAS. You could have let him kill the human delegation. It was the right thing to do," she whispered. "Then this is the right thing to do too." Marcus turned back to the doctors. How would the procedure work? We would need to convert your blood through bioenergy translators, Dr. Velthris explained reluctantly. The process would slowly introduce human cellular material into the princess's energy matrix. But Captain Chen, the mortality rate for humans exposed to pure Zephyrian energy is 100%. You would not survive. You don't know that for sure, Dr. Kim interjected. Those statistics are based on direct exposure to energy fields. This would be a controlled medical procedure with safeguards. What safeguards? Dr. Velthris demanded. We have never attempted anything like this. We do not even understand how it might work. Marcus looked around the medical bay. Ambassador Williams stood near the wall with the other human diplomats, all of them looking helpless and afraid. Through the crystal windows, he could see Zephyrian crew members watching anxiously. Everyone was waiting for Princess Lirelei to die, and for the peace talks to collapse into war. If I don't do this, she dies anyway, Marcus said. And then our species fight each other until one or both are destroyed. If I do this, maybe she lives. Maybe the war doesn't happen. Maybe we find out that humans and Zephyrians aren't as different as everyone thinks. Or maybe you both die and the war happens anyway, Dr. Velthris pointed out. Maybe. But at least we'll have tried something, instead of just giving up. Princess Lirelei tried to raise her head. Captain Chen, you cannot sacrifice yourself for someone you barely know. Marcus knelt beside her medical platform. I'm not doing this just for you. I'm doing it because yesterday you asked if humans could back up our bold words with bold actions. This is my answer. Dr. Kim was already preparing equipment. If we're going to do this, we need to start immediately. The virus has progressed too far. We have maybe 30 minutes before it completely corrupts her energy matrix. I forbid this procedure, Dr. Velthris said firmly. The medical risks are too great. I'm not asking for your permission, Marcus said, rolling up his sleeve. I'm asking for your help. You can either assist Dr. Kim with the procedure, or watch both of us die while you follow protocol. For a long moment, Dr. Velthris stared at him. Then the Zephyrian doctor's crystal skin shifted to resigned patterns. Very well. But I want it recorded that I believe this course of action will result in the deaths of both patients. Recorded and noted, Dr. Kim said as she inserted a needle into Marcus's arm. Now, let's see if human stubbornness can save an alien princess. The bioenergy translator hummed to life, slowly drawing Marcus's blood and beginning the complex process of converting organic cellular material into something that could interact with Zephyrian energy matrices. Through the medical platform, Princess Lirelei watched with dimming eyes as Marcus's life force began flowing toward her. Thank you, she whispered, as the first traces of human blood reached her energy matrix. Then something incredible happened. The moment Marcus's converted blood reached Princess Lirelei's energy matrix, the medical bay filled with light so bright that everyone had to shield their eyes. The bioenergy translator screamed warnings as its sensors tried to process what was happening inside the princess's crystal form. Energy readings are off the charts, Dr. Kim shouted over the noise of alarms. Something's happening to the virus structure. Marcus felt a strange tingling sensation running through his body where the extraction needle connected him to the conversion system. It didn't hurt, exactly, but it felt like electricity was flowing backward through his veins. On the medical platform, Princess Lirelei's crystal skin began to change. The black veins that had been spreading through her body suddenly stopped growing. For a moment, they seemed frozen in place like dark lightning trapped in crystal. Then they began to dissolve, melting away as if they had never existed. But something else was happening too. Dr. Velthris, Dr. Kim called urgently. Are you seeing this? The Zephyrian doctor floated closer to his scanners, his crystal face showing patterns Marcus had never seen before. This is impossible. The princess's energy matrix is not just fighting off the virus, it's incorporating the human cellular patterns. Where the black veins had disappeared, new pathways were forming in Princess Lirelei's crystal skin. These weren't the pure energy channels that normal Zephyrians possessed. They looked more organic, with flowing patterns that reminded Marcus of blood vessels or nerve networks. and they were glowing with a warm golden light instead of the usual cold blue. The chaos is stabilizing, Dr. Kim said in amazement. The human cellular structure isn't destroying her energy matrix. It's teaching it new patterns. Princess Liralei's eyes opened, and Marcus gasped. They had changed from pure crystal to something that looked almost human, but with depths that seemed to hold swirling galaxies. When she looked at him, he felt like she was seeing not just his face, but his thoughts and emotions as well. "I can feel you," she said, her voice now carrying harmonics that made Marcus's chest vibrate. "I can sense your bioelectric field, your emotions, your thoughts. This should not be possible." The conversion process was still ongoing, and Marcus could feel his strength beginning to fade as more of his blood was processed through the system. But Princess Liralei was growing brighter and stronger with each passing moment. Her crystal skin now showed a mixture of energy pathways and organic-looking networks that pulsed in rhythm with Marcus's heartbeat. "Shut down the procedure," Dr. Velthris ordered. "Captain Chen's vital signs are dropping too rapidly." "No," Princess Liralei said, sitting up on the medical platform. "I can regulate the flow now. I can control how much energy I draw from him." She placed her hand on the bioenergy translator, and Marcus felt the draining sensation ease. His strength began to return, but the connection between them remained. He could sense her presence in his mind, warm and comforting like sunlight. "How is this possible, Doctor?" Velthris demanded, studying his readings. "Princess, your energy signature has completely changed. You're processing both pure energy and organic compounds simultaneously. The human blood didn't just cure the virus," Princess Liralei explained, standing up from the platform. When she moved, Marcus noticed she was no longer floating. Her feet actually touched the ground, but she moved with a grace that was still clearly superhuman. "It taught my biology new possibilities." Dr. Kim was frantically taking readings from both of them. "The cellular integration is stable. Captain Chen's blood somehow created hybrid pathways in the princess's energy matrix. She's become something new, something that bridges the gap between energy-based and carbon-based life." "What does that mean for me?" Marcus asked. He felt different too, though he couldn't explain how. Stronger somehow, more aware of the energy flowing through the ship around him. Princess Liralei turned toward him, and when their eyes met, Marcus felt a surge of connection that was deeper than anything he had ever experienced. "It means we are linked now, Captain Chen. My energy matrix has learned to recognize and process human bioelectric patterns, and your nervous system has been enhanced to perceive energy fields." To demonstrate, she held out her hand. Marcus could actually see the energy flowing through her crystal skin, but now it looked different than it had before. Instead of pure crystal perfection, her internal light moved like living fire, chaotic and beautiful and somehow more real than the cold perfection of normal Zephyrian energy. "The implications of this are staggering," Dr. Velthris said. His crystal skin was flickering with excitement. "Princess, you may be the first being in galactic history capable of true biological synthesis. You can process both energy and organic matter, understand both ordered and chaotic systems. More than that," Princess Liralei said. She turned toward Ambassador Williams, who had been watching the entire procedure in stunned silence. "I can now sense the bioelectric fields of all organic life forms. Ambassador, you are feeling hope mixed with fear and wonder. You are thinking about how this discovery might change the relationship between our species." Ambassador Williams's eyes widened. "You can read minds now?" "Not exactly read them, but I can sense emotional patterns, biological responses, even basic thought processes in organic beings. It's like having a new sense that I never knew existed." Dr. Kim was shaking with excitement as she reviewed the data. "This changes everything we know about biological compatibility. For centuries, we assumed that energy-based and carbon-based life forms were fundamentally incompatible, but the princess has become a living bridge between the two evolutionary paths." Marcus felt another surge of connection with Princess Liralei. Through their link, he could sense her amazement at her new abilities, but he could also sense something else, a deep understanding that what had happened to them was just the beginning. The virus was designed to target pure Zephyrian biology, she explained to the gathered doctors and diplomats. But human blood introduced chaos into a system that had been perfectly ordered for millions of years. The chaos didn't destroy the order. It taught the order how to adapt, how to grow, how to become something more than it was before. The separatists wanted to prevent contamination of our pure energy essence, Dr. Velthris said thoughtfully. Instead, they may have given us the key to evolving beyond our current limitations. Princess Lirelei walked over to a crystal wall and placed her hand against it. Immediately, the wall began to change, developing new patterns that looked both crystalline and organic. I can now interface with both Zephyrian technology and human biology. I can understand energy systems and chaotic systems equally well. The implications hit Marcus like a wave. You're not just recovered. You're more powerful than any Zephyrian has ever been. We are more powerful, she corrected, reaching out to touch his hand. When their skin made contact, Marcus felt energy flow between them in patterns that were both alien and familiar. The link works both ways, Captain Chen. You now carry traces of Zephyrian energy enhancement in your nervous system. Dr. Kim's scanners confirmed it. Captain Chen's bioelectric field has been permanently altered. His reflexes, strength, and sensory capabilities are all enhanced. It's like he's been upgraded with Zephyrian technology. But at the cellular level, Marcus flexed his hand and realized he could feel the energy flowing through the ship's walls, could sense the emotions of every person in the medical bay, could perceive patterns and connections he had never noticed before. What have we become? He asked. Princess Lirelei smiled, and her crystal skin filled with warm golden light that made Marcus think of sunrise. I believe we have become the first step towards something the galaxy has never seen before. The fusion of order and chaos, energy and matter, wisdom and innovation. Through the medical bay windows, other Zephyrians had gathered to watch. Their crystal faces showed expressions of awe and confusion as they observed their transformed princess. Word was already spreading throughout the ship about the miracle that had occurred. The royal court will never believe this, Dr. Velthris said. A human saving a Zephyrian princess with his own blood, and both of them emerging more powerful than before. They will believe it, Princess Lirelei said confidently, because I will show them what we have learned. And then we will begin the real work of building a bridge between our peoples. 3 months after the synthesis event, as historians had begun calling it, Marcus stood on the bridge of the new flagship Harmony, watching ships from dozens of different species approach through space. The vessel itself was a marvel that would have been impossible before his blood had saved Princess Lirelei. It combined human engineering with Zephyrian energy technology, creating something that was both organic and crystalline. The Altarian delegation has just arrived, Princess Lirelei reported from her position at the ship's central control matrix. She no longer needed to float. Her new hybrid biology allowed her to interface directly with both energy-based and mechanical systems. They're requesting immediate audience to discuss the cellular enhancement procedures. Marcus nodded, still getting used to his role as co-commander of the joint human-Zephyrian fleet. Through the link he shared with Lirelei, he could sense her amusement at his continued discomfort with authority. The enhancement to his nervous system had given him abilities he was still learning to control. Enhanced reflexes, energy perception, and an intuitive understanding of complex systems that sometimes overwhelmed him. How many requests is that today? He asked. 47 species have now formally requested access to human blood samples for research purposes, she replied. The Crystalline Coalition wants to schedule synthesis experiments. The Silicon Confederacy is offering entire star systems in trade for enhancement procedures, and the Energy Collective has threatened war if we don't share the technology. It had started small. Word of Princess Lirelei's transformation had spread through Zephyrian space first, causing shockwaves throughout their empire. The royal court had been skeptical until they met her in person and witnessed her new abilities. She could now communicate with any form of life, understand technologies that had puzzled Zephyrian scientists for centuries, and process information at speeds that amazed even their most advanced minds. But the real revelation had come when other crystalline species learned about the synthesis event. The Altarians, the Quartz Lords, the Diamond Hegemony, all of them had reached out to establish contact with humanity. Not as equals, but as potential partners in evolution itself. "Show them in," Marcus said, "but remind them of the ground rules." The Altarian delegation floated into the bridge chamber, their crystal form similar to Zephyrian's but with a darker, more metallic sheen. Their leader, Prime Crystal Valdris, moved directly toward Princess Lirelei with obvious urgency. "Your Highness," Prime Crystal Valdris said, "our scientists have reviewed the data from your transformation. We believe that Altarian crystal biology, combined with human cellular chaos, could produce even more dramatic enhancements than what you have achieved." "That may be true," Princess Lirelei replied diplomatically. "But as we have explained to all delegations, the synthesis process cannot be forced or rushed. Human biology is not a resource to be harvested. It is a gift to be shared between willing partners." Marcus stepped forward. Over the past months, he had become the unofficial spokesperson for humanity in these negotiations. "Prime Crystal Valdris, we appreciate your interest. But we need to be very clear about something. Humans are not going to become a species of living blood banks for the rest of the galaxy." 7. "But surely you understand the potential," the Altarian leader insisted. "Your chaotic biology could be the key to unlocking evolutionary possibilities that have been sealed away for millions of years. Every crystalline species in the galaxy could benefit from synthesis procedures, and every human could die from them," Marcus pointed out. "The procedure that saved Princess Lirelei nearly killed me. We've run tests since then, and the success rate is barely 60%. Would you ask your own people to undergo procedures with those survival odds?" Through his link with Lirelei, Marcus sensed her approval of his response. Together, they had developed a careful approach to the synthesis requests. Yes, the technology could revolutionize galactic civilization, but it could also destroy humanity if every species decided they needed human blood to evolve. "The harmony protocols we've established are not negotiable," Princess Lirelei said firmly. "Any species requesting synthesis procedures must first establish full diplomatic relations with both the human government and the Zephyrian Empire. They must provide detailed biological compatibility studies, and they must accept that the process requires genuine volunteers, not conscripts." Prime Crystal Valdris's form flickered with frustrated energy patterns. "Your caution will slow progress by centuries. Other species may not be so patient. Then those species will not receive our cooperation," Marcus said. "We've already demonstrated what happens to civilizations that threaten humanity. The separatist faction that attacked Princess Lirelei has been completely eliminated by joint human-Zephyrian forces. We're willing to share our gifts, but not at the point of a weapon." The Altarian delegation left without reaching an agreement, but Marcus wasn't worried. 3 other species had already signed the harmony protocols and begun the careful process of establishing synthesis programs. The results so far had been remarkable. "The vegan delegation is reporting their first successful synthesis," Lirelei informed him after the Altarians departed. "Commander Sarah Thompson and Prime Healer Xylos have achieved stable cellular integration. Both subjects are showing enhanced capabilities similar to ours." Marcus smiled. Sarah Thompson had volunteered for the experimental program despite the risks, saying that someone needed to prove humans could work with species other than Zephyrians. Her success meant that synthesis was possible across multiple biological types, not just between humans and Zephyrians. "Any word from Earth about the new proposals?" he asked. Lirelei's expression grew more serious. "The Galactic Council has formally voted to offer humanity a permanent seat on the ruling assembly. Full voting rights, territorial guarantees, and most importantly, recognition as a protected synthesis species." Marcus felt a surge of pride mixed with disbelief. 6 months ago, humanity had been considered a primitive species, barely worth acknowledging. Now they were being offered a seat at the table that governed galactic civilization. "There's more," Lirelei continued. The Council has also voted to establish the Marcus Chen Institute for Biological Synthesis on Luna. It will be the first joint research facility dedicated to studying safe enhancement procedures for all species. They want to name it after me? Marcus asked in shock. You saved not just my life, but potentially the evolutionary future of every advanced species in the galaxy. The name is appropriate. Through the bridge windows, Marcus could see the massive construction project taking shape in orbit around the planet below. The new joint human-Zephyrian colony was unlike anything ever attempted before, a world where energy-based and carbon-based life forms would live and work together as equals. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't volunteered for that procedure, Marcus said. Lirelei moved closer to him, her hybrid form radiating warmth and energy in patterns that still amazed him. You mean if you had chosen safety over courage? If you had decided that protecting yourself was more important than saving others? Something like that. Then the galaxy would still be divided into separate evolutionary paths that could never truly understand each other. Humans would still be seen as primitive. Crystalline species would still be trapped in their perfect but limited biology, and neither of us would have discovered what we could become together. Marcus reached out and took her hand, feeling the energy flow between them. Their link had grown stronger over the months, until sometimes he wasn't sure where his thoughts ended and hers began. But instead of feeling like a loss of identity, it felt like becoming part of something larger and more wonderful than either of them could be alone. No regrets then? He asked. Only one, she said with a smile that lit up her crystal features. I regret that it took an assassination attempt to bring us together. Lon be this passed. I. On the bridge displays, more ships were approaching. Representatives from the Spiral Alliance, the Core Worlds, the Rim Federation, all coming to see the impossible partnership that had changed everything. Marcus and Lirelei stood together watching them arrive. Two beings who had become something new and wonderful, bridging the gap between order and chaos, energy and matter, wisdom and innovation. The aftermath had indeed left everyone speechless, but from that speechlessness had come something even more powerful. The recognition that the universe was vast enough for all its children to grow and change and become more than they had ever imagined possible. And at the center of it all, a human captain and an alien princess who had discovered that sometimes the greatest strength comes from being willing to give everything you have to save someone else. Even when you don't know what the consequences might be, the galaxy would never be the same. And that, Marcus realized as he watched the stars through Lirelei's crystalline eyes, was exactly as it should be.